well. This is what they're gonna be coming out as well. So as a proper audience, freshmen, and sometimes we, for proper like etiquette, anything that's distracting to you, like headphones, cell phones, or any other digital devices, we're gonna put them away, okay? Because listening, sometimes I think we forgot how to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, as I turned my phone off.
Anyway, so have a pencil out. Okay, now this is, and we have an awesome opportunity to listen to her speak, and she's my thing. Okay, here's how I know Lisa Albers is that she is on our school board. There's like from different areas of Grand Island, and she represents a certain area of Grand Island. And she works with Dr. Grover, our new superintendent. Anyone on the advisory board with Dr. Grover here? Nobody? Okay. Anyway, so they help make decisions on where we're going as a vision, like as a goal. Where's our school district going? And when we were talking about career pathways, and we're talking about possibility of going into academies, because that's what we're studying about, these different academies, that she's helped making those decisions about programs and policies and how things should go. Okay, and it's awesome to get the school board in here because this is what it's really about. This is what it's about. It's about kids. Okay, so after I introduce her, which is this Miss Albers, she's going to talk about a variety of different jobs she's had. Let's give her a hand, okay? Give her one of the And you are on, Lisa. Woo!
Okay, so my name's Lisa Albers. I actually graduated from Grand Island Senior High.
You did?
So long ago.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, as did my husband. We have been back in Grand Island for about 20 years now, which has gone very fast. And my job right now is that I'm an office manager for our family-owned anesthesia practice. Who knows what anesthesia is?
I think we talked about that. One time we watched a little video on an, is that the same thing as a anesthetist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember we watched that as they're putting you under?
Remember that surgery?
Yeah.
You had any surgery?
Stitches, and they had to infusion ready.
Okay, so they injected you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else had surgery? Not to get personal, but so at a surgery center, a hospital, something like that. So they put you asleep, right? Well, I am the manager of all the people that can put you to sleep. So put your pain, take your pain away when you're having surgery or any kind of a procedure. And let me just tell you, they're your best friends. When you're in pain, they are your best
Yes,
friends.
absolutely.
So if you've had,
Absolutely.
yes. if your
I've had my
children-
appendix.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I manage this medical practice. Now, what's interesting about me managing a medical practice is that anesthesia is not office-based. You're gonna find it in a hospital, you're gonna find it in a surgery center. So I work from home mainly. And I work at surgery center, and then I go to the billing office, and no day is ever the same. They're always different. So is anybody interested in a medical field in here? Anybody interested in nursing, EMT, any of that? No? What are some of the things you guys are interested in at this point?
Okay, there you go, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Animation artist.
Say it again.
Animation
Oh,
artist.
awesome. Excellent.
Some of them are interested in career pathways by Bar Middle School with like mechanics. How many of you are thinking about mechanics? Okay, I remember Zach. How about welding? What's the other one there? Carpentry. I remember that one.
Construction.
And construction, yep. Drafting, engineer, that part of the engineering. What are you interested in, Matthew? Aren't you interested in art? Some art, is more art. What about you? What were you thinking about? You're still kind of up in the air, which is totally okay.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when I was in ninth grade, I didn't know. I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I think that you have to be open to the fact, especially with your generation, that jobs are going to change, your education is going to change.
Yeah.
I have degree from UNL, and then I have a master's degree from UNL in counseling. There is nothing further from counseling than what I'm doing right now. And a master's degree in counseling, usually why you choose that is because you want to work with people. I actually did career counseling for many years in Omaha, and I liked that. So interest inventories, which we need to talk about, you fill out these papers about what your interests are, and then it helps kind of hone in what you might want to study,
She's the manager of some.
knowing that those things will change as you go and get older. So I loved that job. I loved being a counselor, I worked with college students mainly, I worked with some high school students. But that was a really very cool job, used my education very well. But my husband and I ended up moving to Kansas, and so then I worked at a community college in Kansas. After we started having kids, I stayed home for a while. But about 10 years ago, I went back to work managing anesthesia. So at first, when I started this job, it was baptism by fire. So I was just learning as I went. The office manager we had was going to work for her own family business, so her youngest daughter went to kindergarten, I said, yeah, I'll start doing this. Because it was from home, I thought it would be easy to stay involved with the kids and still do this. Well, as you all know, over the course of the last, particularly 8 years, healthcare has changed. Insurance has changed. There's been a lot of things that have changed. It's become as regimented as it was before, and how much you had to document everything before has become more that way. So the part-time job that I started 10 years ago really blossomed into a full-time plus job. Even though I'm working from home, it's still 40 hours plus a week. But what's nice and what's awful about that is that I was answering emails at 10 o'clock last night. I'm not whining about that, that's fine, because I was able to go to the gym yesterday morning. So it's a give and take. So I have that much flexibility, which is one of the things I like about the job, is the flexibility in the fact that I don't have to dress up. I dressed up for you guys. I don't have to dress up in my job because it doesn't matter what I wear. I can work at home, my desk downstairs, do what I need to do, go to the surgery center, talk to people there, and that's, the people at the surgery center are one of the fun things about my job. Because everybody's super nice, super helpful, they get whatever I need, and that's awesome. But knowing that I have a master's degree in counseling, and the skill set or characteristics required of someone with that type of education, do you think that my education set me up for this job? Knowing what an office manager takes, somebody who's maybe very detail oriented. Anybody really good with details here? You're an artist, I bet you're good with details. When you look at a picture, you can kind of pick out certain sections of it, like, oh, I should put some more blue in here, or I need to highlight his face more, or can you look at something and see what needs done?
Not that well,
You're learning how to do it, you're honing those skills.
I don't have taken that class yet.
We'll take little sections of either drawing or animation and we practice what we're doing. If it doesn't look that right, we change little details to see if it fits together.
Yes.
That's that detail orientation that she's
Yeah.
talking about.
Yes. So some people are detail oriented. If you're interested in accounting, economics, anything that's gonna require, like if you have one mistake, computer programming,
Oh, yeah,
that's
that would
very detail oriented, which is what my son is studying. And so we kind of are on divergent paths. You have to have that eye for detail. If you don't have that eye for detail, there's nothing wrong with that. Because I don't have that eye for detail. A lot of people who go into anesthesia have that eye for detail. If they're drawing up drugs to put your stitches in, you want them to be able to draw up the right amount, right? That's somebody who's detail oriented. Now, not that I dropped the wrong amount if I was doing it, but someone who's just kind of wired that way or has maybe honed those skills, gonna be better at that, then, see, I always say, I'm big picture. I'm big picture. I wanna see, I wanna understand how people feel about this. I wanna know feedback on this. Well, why do you feel that way? What made you this way? I'm still interested in what people's jobs are. I'm still interested in understanding how people's employment works, because that's just always been an interest of mine. So I still wanna talk about that, even though it has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. Anybody have a part-time job here? Anybody work? What you do? Adrian's restaurant, family business.
Yeah.
So do you find that maybe you care a little bit more? Because it's your family business? See, that's where I am. I really care about this because it's my family business.
Great connection, great connection.
So how long have you been working? See, my parents had a small restaurant when I was growing up, and I started working in that when I was about 12 as well. And I look at my 14-year-old now, and I think about, God, 2 years ago, could she have worked in a restaurant? I don't know, but when you have that emotional connection, it's really a blessing to have that job, and to have somebody who will kind of take a risk on you as a young person, to have that. But you feel more, as much of a sense of responsibility as you might feel at any job. When it's your family, you feel more of a sense of responsibility, don't you? Yeah. Anybody else work?
It's also a family business.
Oh, excellent. And what is that?
We sell like food, like tacos, burritos, stuff like that, and I get stuff in the mountain.
You get stuck?
I get
Oh,
stuff in
no.
the county, and like, they give me all the receipts. I help with the taxes.
That's awesome.
That's what you kind of do too, right?
Yeah.
With money.
Yeah, but you're smiling about it. I don't smile about it. That is, at your age, to have that responsibility. See, you've probably just been doing it like, oh, we're gonna just have you do this. And you thought, okay, they gave it to me, I'm gonna do it. But you don't, if you really dissect what it is you're doing,
Mhm.
it's so important. And it's such an enormous amount of responsibility. I handle the money too. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility there. So kudos for you. That's awesome. So you do have that eye for detail. I guarantee
Yeah,
you
you
do.
do. You're working with
I have-
money, yeah.
Yeah, I had to train that. Anybody else?
Anybody else have a
Paid or
part-time job?
unpaid work? No?
Another part-time job?
You're still kind of young. You might get into some of that more as you get a little bit older. So kudos to you guys. I think that's awesome. Let me go back to my little notes here. So some of the challenges of my job, I'm going to use your
Absolutely.
the little notes that you have there. Some of
Sure.
the challenges of my job I've already spoke about, in that I'm not really wired for this job. It's not really how my brain works. But I'm old, I can learn, and I care. So that's huge. So when I started this, there was more paperwork 10 years ago, but you would be surprised how delayed some of our insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, all of that, how very delayed they are in coming into this day and age as far as automation and filling out forms online and giving them information online. So I still have, I brought a couple of them. This is a 28-page Medicare application. Anybody that walks into the surgery center is gonna do anesthesia, even if they're just gonna work for an hour, I have to get this approved. I have to send this in, and this one in, this is 5 pages, with all their documentation, diplomas for their RN degree, diplomas for their CRNA degree, which is Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist, which is like a master's degree in nursing. I have to send in all their licenses, all their insurance information, everything. And they have no problem sending this back to me if it's not perfect. So I've cried over my job before because some of this stuff comes back to me, and it's just heartbreaking that you put all this time and energy into it. And I actually had a whole application, huge, this was for Medicaid, so that's state. It was sent back because I didn't put the 4-digit code behind the zip code. They mailed the whole thing back to me. So I know, that's kind of what I did. And I had it sent, a whole entire application sent back to me because I had included 2 copies of the same diploma. And I actually called them about that, because I said, really, it's redundant, but it's not wrong. I mean, yeah, it's duplicate information, but it's not wrong. And then I did talk to the manager, and she pushed it through. So sometimes I wanna scream at them on the phone, but I'm not gonna get what I want then.
Right.
I have to, that's where my counseling background comes in handy. I have to be able to work with them, bite my tongue, and try to get what I want. And so in that way, sometimes it's helpful having some of those skills that I learned in school and I learned when I was a counselor to be able to get what I need for the practice, for the greater good, for our family business. But it's not fun, and it's very frustrating. So most rewarding projects. Who thinks they're gonna live in Grand Island when they come back from school, or you think you wanna stay in GI? Anybody else? No, I can see you, even though you're not looking at me. How about you? No, don't stay in
Do you
GI?
think Leo, do you wanna go back to, Cuba?
No.
No. Why is that?
What?
Why is that?
I have all my family here,
Oh, cause your families, are they in Florida or here?
Florida.
And are you gonna go back there, you think?
No.
You and your mom and your brother? Cool. Adrian, or Carlos, what about you?
Probably California.
In California?
Okay. Do you know any idea where you wanna end up?
He is brand new.
Oh,
He came from York, Nebraska. And we're so glad to have him.
how about anybody else?
Wyoming.
You wanna end up in Wyoming? You have family there?
Yeah, my mom's side.
How about you? Stay here, you wanna stay here?
California.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. Excellent, okay. How about you? Go ahead. I will tell you that, I had no intention of moving back here, none, 0. And, my husband and I always thought that we would live in Chicago or Denver. We like big cities, that's where we wanted to live. But you go where the job is, and 20 years ago, the job was here. So, now we've been here for 20 years. I still sometimes can't believe I'm here. And, but it's been a good place to raise our kids, it's been a good place for our business. So all I'm saying is keep an open mind, because you never know where you're
That's a good point.
And I know that this is your whole basis for comparison right now. You're 9th graders, you've got 3 years left, it seems like forever. Is everybody here 9th grade?
Mhm.
Yeah, seems like forever. This is a very, very small tick on your lifeline. Very, very small tick. So although this is all you know, don't let it get you down. Because after you graduate, I never really even reflect on my high school days. I mean, you have to get through it, and you have to do well. It does matter. But really, in the basis of your future, it is a stepping stone, right? So just, I know it's hard. I was there, had 2 kids graduate from GIPS, senior high, and I know it's hard. But just get through it. And remember that really, life starts after you get out of high school and you're able to control your future more. Just remember that. You don't want to peak in high school. You want to peak when you get out of high school.
Good points.
So, what else do I have here? Oh, the other thing that I'm very proud of is our group is fully staffed. You know how most of you don't want to live in Grand Island? It's funny, when you're trying to recruit people here, there's a lot of people that don't want to live here either. So it's hard for me to get educated nurse anesthetists to come to Grand Island. Because it's a small town, middle of Nebraska, and there's a lot of people who don't want to come here. And it's difficult to recruit, it's not just our group that has trouble recruiting. The whole healthcare industry in Grand Island has trouble. recruiting here. So in some ways, that's excellent, because if you want to come here, lots of times the pay is better, benefits will be better because they're trying to get people here. But there's things you need to give up. We don't have the shopping, we don't have the restaurants, there's a lot of things. I don't have to tell you guys. I mean, you live here. So there's a lot of good things about living here, but there's some things that aren't so good about living here. So we are now fully staffed. It took us 18 months to get fully staffed. Yes. Because we had a couple of people leave, not because they didn't like their job, but because they were able to get hospital-based positions, which paid more. The cases are more difficult, which appealed to them. So we had one go to Norfolk, one go to Kearney, and one go to Hastings. And it took us 18 months to get those 3 positions filled. It was daunting and difficult and very expensive. But now it's done. So we had to look at what we were offering our employees. We had to look at what our package was to try to get people to come to Grand Island. So what do you think is the first thing we did? We're looking at this package. This is what we're offering. What do you think some of the changes were that we made? Money. Yes.
Good job, Zach.
Yes. Excellent job. Money. That's the bottom line. So people want a better salary. If they're gonna live here and they want the benefits that come along with the job, great retirement, great salary, and you'll find that in other positions, not just healthcare. So if you ever do find yourself in Grand Island, make sure you look around as you've got your education. Somebody was talking about diesel mechanic yesterday and something about what a great job that is. Yeah.
High demand.
High demand. Always will have a job. So just think about some of those things. Okay, so war story, I think I already talked to you about that. Trying to get people here was daunting. Why did I choose this? I didn't. It chose me. And so, one of the things in here said, what's a typical day for you?
Yeah.
And so no day is really typical. Every day is super different. And even on a day where I think, oh, I don't have much to do today, it's gonna be awesome. I get an email, so-and-so's insurance is out of date, like maybe somebody that works for us for whatever reason, they need to be re-credentialed like 2 weeks ago. And so then then my whole day changes and I have to just put that fire out. Because what happens if one of the people works for us, if they're not credentialed with an insurance company? Do you think that insurance company's gonna pay us? No, they're not gonna pay us. They're gonna look for any reason they can to keep the money they owe us from taking care of whatever patient they sent to us. So yeah, there's a lot of T's to cross, I's to dot, hoops to jump through, and some people really like it. They really like
The detail.
the detail of all of it, all that paper. I call it paper management. Who has trouble with paper management? Who's lost an assignment before? Probably everyone.
I think everybody.
Yeah, seriously, me too. That's called paper management. And in your lifetime, you're gonna get away from paper. I even felt guilty printing up this 28 pages to bring it here today. Because I thought, oh God, that poor tree, But insurance companies still use paper. They're still using it. There's some places that are so backward, you can't even email a form to them. You have to fax it. Still, yeah. I went down to my office today and there was a thing from an insurance company saying that one of our providers was credentialed. They had faxed it to me. They have my email address. They have my phone number if they wanted to call me. But no, they faxed it to me. It's just so backwards. So dealing with that stuff is a struggle for me because, well, first of all, I don't like paper because I think it's wasteful. And second of all, it's using ink and it's just so backwards to me. So I don't like any of that. But they set the rules and I have to follow. So that's what I do. I follow the rules. Getting back to a typical day. I got sidelined because of that fast. So, for example, today I got up early and I went down to the office and I just started working. I had to do a deposit. I had to email some stuff to our billing office. I had to email some stuff to the surgery center. So I can get up at 6 o'clock, I can be down, get a cup of coffee, because that's my priority in the morning, go downstairs and I can start working by 6:10 or 6:15. Then I stop working, get our daughter to school, I might go work out. After I get done working out, went to the billing office. Because again, it doesn't matter, and this is the best thing about my job, what I look like. Doesn't matter if I stink, doesn't matter if I have sweatpants on, it doesn't matter if my hair is washed. And that is the saving grace of my job. So when I'm on that end of town, I can go to the billing office, I can go to the surgery center. I go to the surgery center, they say, my husband says, oh, can you go run this over to the attorney's office? Can you take this to the accountants? Can you whatever? So then I can do those things. Doesn't matter what I look like. It just matters if the work gets done.
Right.
Now, if I have to talk to an insurance company, like United Healthcare was in town a while ago, and I had to go talk to them, I do show. I look presentable. So there's times that I can't clean up, but that's one of the benefits of my job, not having to do that. So segue into being on the school board. One of the reasons I wanted to do the school board was because I love that stuff. I love talking about education. Getting our older kids ready for college, I enjoyed all of that, all the testing information, all the looking at schools, visiting schools. I really enjoyed all of that. I like meeting students. That interests me. So I thought it was a good time for me to take on, considering how much of this I don't enjoy, but it's necessary. And so much in life, you just have to do it. It's not fun, but it's necessary. So I do this. But the stuff on the school board, I really like. It's fun. It is not without stress, but I do feel like it's the greater good. So at that point, got 10,000 students, think about it. And so that's been a nice balance for me to do some things that I know are necessary, but not necessarily fun, with things that are pretty much necessary but fun and interesting. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do the school board, was just because I felt like I needed that.
What are some things on the school board like you guys talk about or discuss?
We talk about what you guys were talking about, the different career pathways. And we haven't gotten down and dirty with that yet. But I think Dr. Grover's very progressive. She really wants what's best for our students. And we really need to improve academic achievement. We need to improve those scores. Who likes taking tests? Yeah. You like taking them? Good.
Yeah.
Majority of kids don't though. But that is one way that we measure how well information is being processed. It's just another necessary evil. You just have to do it.
So you guys remember last year as 8th graders, you took the NISA writing, and NISA reading, and the NISA math. That's the kind of testing that we're looking at in regard to growth.
Do you think those tests are important?
Yeah.
They are. You just need to remember that they are. But sometimes, when I took the ACT, nobody in here is taking the ACT.
No, they will in 2 years.
Okay, so when I took the ACT, I think I was a senior in high school, so that was a long time ago, 30+ years ago. So nobody told us how important it was. I didn't know how important it was. I think there was a few people in our class that maybe got how important it was. My husband got how important it was. But education wasn't important to my advanced education. Neither one of my parents had gone to college, so it wasn't. They didn't get it. It's not their fault. They just didn't get it either. So when you prepare for those tests, and if you're going to a 4-year school, you'll have to take the ACT. You do need to prepare for that stuff.
Right.
You do need to think about it. Do a little research. There's just nuances of the test that you can find online. But science isn't about science. Science is really about reading. Can you read the instructions? Follow the instructions, answer the questions. So just get online and get a few pointers about it. You don't need to break your neck trying to prepare for it. but it's, lots of times you can get scholarships based on your ACT scores. Can make you some money, so just think about that. I keep digressing, but,
You're fine, you're
Yeah.
fine. You're doing great, Lisa.
so. As far as going back to my typical day, so if I wouldn't have had this today, I would have just gone back down to my desk, started doing more paperwork, do a deposit for the day. I have to do some credentialing online. There's a website called CAQH. Don't ask me what that stands for, because there's a lot of acronyms in medicine. And I would have to go online and download all the new malpractice insurance, because that is renewed every April. So they need to make sure we have copies of that. And in Nebraska, there's a thing called the excess liability fund. It's kind of complicated, but everybody who has malpractice insurance in Nebraska also has to be a member of the excess liability fund. So then I have to download all of that information. So it's just like paperworky things, necessary paperwork stuff that just has to get done. But you can get in trouble. It's not fun. It's necessary, and you can get in trouble if you don't do it. And then bottom line is, then they don't pay us, and then we can't pay our employees. So
Can you tell us what malpractice is? 'Cause we might
malpractice.
not know what it is.
Oh, sure. So, so we don't know malpractice insurance, have you ever heard of that? Anytime you go to see a doctor or a PA or a nurse practitioner or anybody like that, they have malpractice insurance. Malpractice insurance is if God forbid they do something wrong, or it doesn't even need to be that they did something wrong, if it's perceived that they did something wrong, then you can sue them. You've seen all those advertisements on
Yes,
TV about
yes.
mesothelioma and, and all of those. Well, that's kind of like malpractice insurance. So if God forbid you have a surgeon who doesn't do their due diligence and they made a mistake when they were doing surgery, then you can sue that surgeon. And so physicians, PAs, nurse practitioners, all those people have to have malpractice insurance. So that if God forbid something goes wrong, and sometimes it's just act of God, it's not that there was malice intended, it just happens. And something goes wrong or bad or awry, and then you sue them, and this malpractice insurance protects the provider. Does that make sense?
Good explanation.
Yeah.
So remember, mel is a base word, or it's a prefix, excuse me. It means bad. Mal, like malo in Espanol, malo means bad, correct? Right? So mal or mel means bad. Practice is what you do. So if something goes wrong, kind of remember it that way.
And that's expensive insurance. That's very expensive insurance, but it's necessary. So you never want to be without that. Another component of my job that probably causes me the most stress is if we, on a surgery schedule, so they have, somebody wants to add a case, a surgeon wants to add a case, or they want to add 3 cases or 5 cases or whatever it is, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours in advance. Sometimes that means I have to get more coverage. So if we have a room, an OR, operating room, that has 4 or 5 cases in it, that means I have to get another provider for anesthesia for that particular room. Well, sometimes there's not a lot of notice. And so I have to start texting providers that I know to see if they have any flexibility in their schedule to come over. That is probably the part of my job that stresses me out the most. Because if the surgeons aren't happy and they don't have someone to provide the anesthesia for their patients, it's a problem. So we're kind of at the beck and call for people who want to do cases at surgeries. But that is the part of the job that gives me the most stress. That's the part of the job that gives me stomachache, keeps me up at night. I can't find that.
What do you do?
Well, sometimes we can move cases around.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we'll have somebody start earlier, or we'll have somebody start later, but nobody likes messing. I mean, everybody is an island unto themselves. So like, so one specialty well, they don't wanna come in any earlier, or they don't wanna go any later, you know, it's hard to think big picture because they're just worried about their own patients and their own
Right.
cases, which is fine. That's really all they need. They don't need to worry about us. We'll worry about us. But it's, it makes that part difficult. And that's a part of my job that doesn't shut off either. And so like, we were on vacation in Alaska and I was still getting text messages that they added cases and I needed to find coverage and good Wi-Fi. So I was able to get a hold of people, but that's kind of the part of the job that I don't, that is really stressful and puts it out, because then if I don't find that coverage, then other people are gonna suffer, because I'm not there doing the cases. But that is difficult. Let's see here. So I think the thing I like best about my job is flexibility. Yeah, that's the best thing. That's what keeps me doing it, is the flexibility. And then I can come and go as I please, but I still have to get my work done. I mean, I'll be back working this afternoon, I'll be working tonight. And that's fine. I really don't mind it. It keeps me tuned in with the rest of the family. We have a lot to talk about. So,
Freshman, do you have any questions? Think about who, what, when.
yes.
How long did you have to go to school?
You know, bachelor's degree took me 4 years and my master's degree took me 2 years.
What about your husband becoming the doctor that he is? How many years did he have to go?
How many years do you think a doctor that you visit for a physical or something, how many years do you think they went to school?
4 to 6 years. 4 to 6 years.
4 to 6? 8. You said 8, you're closer. So 4 years, so a medical degree, 4 years undergrad, 4 years medical school. So there's 8. Wow. Then you do 1 year of internship. And then you do at least 3 years of residency, 12 years at a minimum. That is the very minimum that any physician you ever see has done, 12 years. My husband did 14 because he did extra fellowship training.
So high school, then he did his bachelor's. And what did he get his bachelor's in?
Biology.
Biology.
Yeah.
So some type of science, okay? That's 4 years. I'm a very visual learner here.
No, this is awesome.
Okay, so then another 4 years after that to get into med school, just medicine in general.
Yeah, med school's 4 years.
And we have a couple med centers here in Nebraska, University of Nebraska Med Center in Omaha, okay? We have Creighton,
There's, yes, there's 2 medical schools in Nebraska, Creighton and UNMC, University of Nebraska Medical Center. So there's 2 different medical, and they don't just do med students. They also do nursing, they
Right.
do x-ray technician, they do ultrasound, there's a lot of different specialties you can do there.
So then what did you do after that? I'm sorry.
No, no worries. So then you do have to do 1 year of internship. It's 1 year of internship, and that's usually internal med or general surgery. And internal med is like, it sounds like you're an internist is someone who works on the inside of the body. Not surgery, but like you go in, you've got a stomach ache, you can see an internist. Or a family practice or a general practitioner or something like that. So, and then after internship, another step, you do a minimum of 3 years of residency. You know, if you're doing family practice or OBGYN or general surgery, but then like if you want to specialize, say in liver surgery, you do general surgery and then you do additional specialty practice or specialty schooling in say like liver surgery. So medicine is a calling. I think education is a calling too. Being a teacher is a calling too. You know, but a couple things I just want to mention to you as you're thinking about what you might want to do is if you think about a job, really try to dissect it. So, Mrs. Kurtz, you're in the same room all day, right?
Right. And being freshmen, and I love it.
Yeah, and it doesn't bother you.
No.
That would make you crazy. Being in the same place all day. And it's just our wiring. There's,
Right.
it's not that I'm wrong or she's wrong. It's just our wiring. That would
You have
make
to
me,
know that about yourself
you have
as
to
a
know
learner.
that. You have to think about, can I do the same thing over and over? Can I do the same task over and over? You might not be able to, and that's okay, but just think about that when you're thinking about planning for your future. And the other thing I would encourage you to think about is how much money do you need to make? People never want to talk about money. Think about that. Money's yucky. People don't like to talk about it. Again, it's a necessary evil. How much money do you need to live happily, fulfill the things that you want to do in your life? So
So
think
they're
about
learning,
that.
they're learning about salary and then hourly wage jobs. And can you move up in your profession? Are there times that you can get higher up in your position to grow?
And is there additional training?
Yeah.
Can you get additional training to move in your position? Now, the thing about salary, so I'm salaried. So I can work 12 hours or I can work 50. I'm gonna get the same amount of money. It doesn't matter. I get the same pay regardless of how many hours I work. If you're hourly, then most likely you're gonna get a position where you can get overtime. So if you work more than whatever your contract says, sometimes it's 32 hours, 38 hours, 40 hours, you can get overtime, which is time and a half. So what do I mean by time and a half? What does that mean?
Or like ×2 or like double what you already make.
Exactly. You take what you're making, so you're making $10 an hour. Once you go over, say 40 hours, then you make $15 an hour, time and a half.
It's fine.
So that's an example of that. But usually it's over a certain, usually 40. So there's some good points and some bad points to both of those. But different jobs have different ways of looking at how they pay their employees. Now, the people that we hire to come and do anesthesia, we pay them hourly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
we pay them hourly. And we don't do time and a half, but we do a minimum number of hours worked. So like anybody I hire, they're guaranteed 6 hours of work. If they leave after 5 hours, if we're done with cases, there's nothing else for them to do, they get paid for 6 hours. So there's nuances to each of those. Any other questions? It's been just a riveting discussion today,
It
hasn't
is.
it? Just
This is
riveting.
so good. This has been so good. These have been great eye openers. We've had military, we've had social workers, our school nurse came in, financial planners, entrepreneurs. Heidi came in and talked
Oh.
about, she's so
Good for
great.
her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And being an entrepreneur, we've had a teacher come in. Let's see, tomorrow, we're gonna have our police officers come in. Mr. Morrow and Mrs. Wells are gonna come in and talk about being a principal. Freshmen, here's the thing, there is not a perfect job out there that's gonna give you 100% satisfaction.
No.
If you're thinking that is life, that's not reality. There's always gonna be pros and cons to whatever you do.
There's days you're gonna like your job, there's days you're gonna hate it, and it's just
Yeah.
normal. But it's about having the grit to stick it out,
Great,
not just quitting.
You guys know what grit is, to have that grit?
It's where you just buckle down,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna quit.
Perseverance, not
Perseverance.
giving up,
Yeah,
but doing what you love.
even when it's hard.
You do it like she was talking about, for her family. You do it for your family. That's a big case with all family moms and dads that are out there working.
You just have to look forward. I mean, I remember when I started undergrad, working on my bachelor's degree, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And all I knew was I couldn't quit.
Right.
I couldn't quit. And so even when it was hard, and there were times I was working 3 jobs, put myself through school, and sometimes my grades were not the best. But I had to worry about paying my rent and buying food, which is fine, and that's a life skill too.
Right.
But I couldn't quit, because I knew the only way to get me out of that struggle was to get a bachelor's degree at the very least. And when I got my bachelor's degree, I didn't know I was gonna get a master's degree right away. I didn't know, that just kind of fell in my lap and it just worked out. So, and then I kind of discovered what I liked. You know, I really liked the counseling part of it and working with kids and finding out about different jobs. And so it just, sometimes you don't know what yours gonna do. Just don't, just give stuff a shot, you know, really think about it.
And your grades matter.
Your grades
Because
matter.
You guys, high school, okay, high school you don't have to pay for. You don't have to pay $34,000 for high school education for 1 year. But if you graduate, there are some colleges, private schools, like Creighton, and I went to St. Mary's and Doane, and those places, they're gonna cost in a year $30,000.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, holy smokes, how am I gonna pay for this? That's why scholarships are so important. And guess what scholarships look for? They're gonna look for
Grades.
grades. And maybe like right now, maybe you're not doing so well with grades. But if they see that you, over the years of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, that you're working your way up, they want that kind of kid
Yeah, they
to
do.
come in there that's gonna work hard.
You like to see that.
Yeah.
So, I know day to day gets old where you guys are, but you gotta think long term, even at your age. Just get through high school, do the absolute best you can, put the
Yeah.
extra work in as much as you can, and then you're gonna be out of here. And
It's
then,
gonna fly by. I mean, this year already went by fast.
yeah, if you're lucky, it flies by, because it's hard being in high school. But, just, it matters, do the best you can, let it set you up for your future, and then, then start working on your future.
One thing we talked about having a mentor. Did you ever have a mentor in your life that you kind of looked up to and that person just kind of helped you be the person you are?
No, I wouldn't say, I mean, my sister and I are very close.
Maybe she was your mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we got older, we were each other's mentors. And we just kind
Keep
of,
encouraging each
Yeah,
other
yeah.
to do better.
Yeah.
What about any more questions from you guys? Because there was a spot on there I'm seeing, number
What's not filled
7.
out? Number 7. What questions do you still have?
Do you wish you were are you bilingual? Do you wish you were?
Yes, definitely. Very, very helpful. Documentations and,
There's a need out there. Freshmen, putting that on your resume or on your application letters to be bilingual. Okay, I know. How many of you are in Spanish 1? Spanish 2 semester? Spanish? Did you test out, Carla, a Spanish? You did? Nice. Ismar, what about you, hon? Did you test out in middle school? Okay, are you in Spanish now? So you must have tested out. Matthew, what about you? Did you take that in middle school where you could test out reading and writing Spanish? Okay, you guys, keep getting a foreign language is so, so important.
the last person we just hired, the person
Was
that's gonna be here
bilingual?
next week, is bilingual, yeah. It's gonna be very, very helpful.
Let's see what time we get out of here.
Morning.
See, they know at 2 o'clock dismissal.
Oh my God, it's supposed to be nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, let's clap 3 on 3 for Miss Albers. Ready? 1, 2, 3. You're amazing.
Oh,
And our school's lucky to have you.
you're kind.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Anytime to come back here.
Absolutely. Yeah, my kids don't want to see me.
No, you are wonderful.
Great. Well.
Guest speakers tomorrow for our class will be Mrs. Welsh. She's one of our assistant principals.